Hey Ranger Nation, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode 12, Real Steel. So I'm just going to throw this out here, there are spoilers in this. This episode hasn't aired in America, it's only in Australia at the moment. So before we begin the video, if you want to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell, you'll be notified when more videos drop. And as always, Ranger Nation, let's begin with the video and let's just jump into it. I kind of really like that saying. We open up on the lab and Nate is working on a brand new weapon for the Red Ranger, which is the cheetah claws, or which are the cheetah claws. We're going to see it much later on in the season. You know, it'll probably be like in the next episode or like the next season or something like that. So far we're seeing a glimpse into the future. Steel is now kind of wanting to become more human. He thinks by doing stuff like skiing, swimming, snorkeling, he will become a human. And I kind of think that maybe near the end of the season, like when we talk about season 2, I kind of think what will happen is that he'll become a real human and he'll become a real brother. I reckon that will kind of work. I reckon that would be kind of cool if it is, and I've called it here first if it happens. Nate is talking about the cheetah claws, but Steel keeps kind of cutting him off all the time. You can see that Nate is getting kind of really annoyed about this, and it kind of reflects this for the entire kind of episode. Devin walks in with a basketball and says that he's going to teach Steel how to play basketball because he doesn't know how to, well, Steel doesn't know how to play it. And this kind of really grates on Nate as well. As Zoe suggests to Nate, says, why didn't you go play basketball, etc., etc. He's about to, but then Devin and Steel have kind of walked off, and Nate kind of really gets annoyed, so he kind of turns back. And when Zoe says, like, oh, why didn't you go? Nate's like, nah, I've got some stuff to do around the lab, and that's more important. And again, you just kind of think, Nate, just go out. Just literally say, hey, let me come as well, but no. He has to take the other route and just kind of stay back. We now jump to another scene where Blaze teleports in, and this is possibly my favorite scene just because of the way that he does this. So we've got this like copy machine, like this like photocopier. Blaze sticks in the kind of virus key and actually turns the copier into a monster, which I'm gonna call is probably like copy Robotron or Copytron, something like that. You don't actually see the name or hear the name of it. This monster is able to kind of copy people and then turn into them. So they copy the delivery guy, and then just literally you just see the delivery guy being all kind of evil, which is kind of a nice touch. But I just love Blaze in this one. We now come back to Nate's lab, and they've been playing basketball quite a bit. Steel has punched the ball and decides to kind of patch it up, put air in it to kind of like fix it so they can go back out. At this point, Ben and Betty have walked in and they've got pizza. As Steel kind of turns around and says like, oh, my smell receptors are able to kind of pick this up, they remind him they can't eat. And at this point, the ball has gone so big that it kind of explodes a little bit, but flies around the entire whole lab, which then makes everyone kind of duck and dive, and then kind of like Steel's walking about. Nate's kind of walked in on this one as well, and he has, he's annoyed because the cheetah blades could have been destroyed, they could have been damaged. Steel's very kind of apologetic in this. First of all, he's kind of making a joke saying, well, Nate, you said earlier that, science is fun, this is fun, and Nate just doesn't like it. He is a massive dick to Steel. When Steel kind of realizes what he's done, he apologizes and goes, no, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to, I was joking. And Nate just really doesn't do anything. He's just like, So they get a kind of call, and then they have to kind of go downtown because they've seen Blaze down there and the Robotron. So yeah, they head down to town. But literally, Nate just gives Steel a death stare, and it's just like, holy crap, Nate. Holy crap, why? As the Rangers go downtown, they are looking about. They've seen that people run off. They don't see the Robotron anywhere, and they're kind of thinking, what's going on? Blaze teleports in and starts kind of giving a speech. Now we see the delivery guy, he's just reading a newspaper, and you kind of think that if everyone's run, but he's staying there, saying put, you'd be like, oh, that guy's a monster right there. Let's like investigate. But Blaze kind of gives this sort of speech, and the monster turns into its original form. At this point, when all the Rangers are going like, where is this monster? What's going on? Ravi turns around and spots the monster, and a fight breaks out. Now, the Rangers don't morph in this. They take down the Tronics that Blaze has called in. But what's really interesting is Nate calls for help, and Steel just like, he runs past Nate and then helps Devin, who is fighting Blaze. But then all of a sudden, it's more kind of like, So Nate gets really angry about this, and then all of a sudden, when Blaze teleports out. Steel helps Nate, but we see the kind of the stunt show suit, not the actual one that they use for filming. So it hasn't got much detail, but I was like, that's kind of interesting. Steel can't aim at the monster because obviously Nate is kind of grappling and having this sort of fight. When Steel fires that blast, it almost hits Nate, but kind of separates them. So the monster runs off and Nate just goes, what the hell? It feels like all this pent up rage that we've seen previously in episodes just kind of go boom, like cloud down. And Steel's like, I'm really sorry, I couldn't aim. You were in the way, I didn't want to hit you. And Nate just storms off. And you're like, wow, Nate, really sort out the problem in this. What makes me giggle in this next scene is it feels like it's a HR meeting, that Steel's made an official complaint against Nate. So Nate walks into the lab and the commander says, what the hell happened? Why are you being like this? That fight was horrible. You know, it wasn't your best. Get your head in the game. And it feels like Nate is about to kind of tell what's going on, but then when Devin kind of walks in with a new ball, like Nate just goes, do you know what? I'm out. I'm going to go get supplies because I'm too angry. That's the kind of like the emotion that you get from this. As Steel's like, oh, I don't kind of really want to play ball. When Nate stormed off, Steel follows him, calls his name, but he pretty much just ignores him completely. This has come up to the very interesting part. As Nate drives away, we see the Blaze and we see the copy monster. Now the monster turns into Nate, and you can obviously tell because the shift in acting as well as the red eyes, like the kind of glow, has happened. Copy Nate walks straight into the building and then kind of starts looking around. Everyone's going like, hey, how you doing? Nate's like, oh yeah, which you kind of think you'd be kind of more flowy if you wanted to kind of make people believe you're actually Nate. So Steel meets up with Nate and apologizes and says, like, I'm really sorry. As an apology, I've kind of cleaned your lab. I've redone this. I've redone that. Copy Nate is like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks. When Steel says, look, I'll go grab your stuff, Copy Nate's like, yeah, cool, all right, see you later. Everything's a water under the bridge. And things are kind of normal. We switch to a scene just outside where the Rangers are kind of playing basketball. Steel is looking for the kind of like supplies, but they're not there. Nate pulls in the car and gets out and actually starts kind of unloading. Steel kind of helps, but Nate is obviously going like, what the hell? Previously we'd seen Copy Nate actually make Steel believe that the apology was real, that, you know, everything is fine. But Nate is now being like, nah, whatever, because obviously, you know, Nate doesn't know. Oh boy, this is a weird one. Copy Nate and Nate. So as Nate turns around and kind of like pushes Steel away very coldly, Zoe sees this and kind of runs in after. As Devin says, hey, do you want to play basketball to Steel? Steel's like, nah, something isn't right. I'm not happy. I've got to go. Zoe catches up with Nate and actually says, look, what is up with you? You know, you're really weird. Ben and Betty have done a lot worse and Nate's forgiven them really quickly. So what's going on? And basically the whole thing is Nate reveals that he wanted someone to play sports with, to learn. He never got a chance when he was younger because he never had a brother. He never had this. And you kind of think, Nate, I'm sure you probably had some friends that you could have played with. You could have done sports with, or you could have gone out to join clubs. But it just feels like with all this, Nate is taking his anger and frustration over years out on Steel. Steel overhears everything and kind of goes like, oh, I didn't know this. And then Copy Nate just walks on by. And Steel's like, huh? There's two Nates? That doesn't make sense. Copy Nate is walking about now and trying to get into the doors. He actually finds the lab where the Megazord console is, and he's about to destroy it. But Steel kind of walks in, catches him. They have a bit of kind of back and forth, and all of a sudden they start fighting. All the Rangers are then called into the lab, and we see two Steels fighting each other. So at this point, it's a who's who type thing. No one kind of really knows on this one. So we then get the kind of like, who are you? Tell me which one. You know, we've got Copy Steel who turns around and says like, oh yeah, we're brothers, you know, we're okay. And then obviously the real Steel reveals about what was talked about in the corridor. And then therefore they all hug. And you kind of think there's two of them. Save the hugging till later. You've got another evil monster there. Copy Steel gets really angry and then kind of blasts them and misses them. And then all of a sudden turns around, destroys the console, and goes, haha, my mission's complete, and just cheeses it out of the building, which I would have loved to have seen a bit more. The Rangers look at the console, they go like, oh my god, it's destroyed, what the hell? So Nate and Steel stay behind to actually fix it, while the other Rangers run off to find it. As Copy Steel has left the building, he walks out pretty much fine, and then all of a sudden he turns back into his monster form, and the Rangers meet up. They go, aha, you thought, oh, you could turn yourself into a ranger, but this doesn't fly with them. The Rangers morph and a fight breaks out between them. Scrozzle and Blaze have sent a Gigadrone into the city, and the Rangers are still fighting the copy monster. They get a call over the comms and saying that Devon's Zord has been kind of back online, is ready to go. So obviously Devon runs off to get into the Megazord or his Zord and kind of fight. At this time, Ravi and Zoe are still fighting. They're defeating the monster. And then obviously the Gigadrone has the ability, same as the other monster, who can now copy stuff. They start fighting. The monster copies Devon's Zord, and it's a bit of a back into a fight. When Zoe and Ravi defeat Copytron, I'm going to call him, boom, that's it. You know, they join the fight, but now there's two Red Ranger Zords. They don't know what's going on. So Zoe fires on both of them, which then knocks the monster back into its original form. They form their Megazord. They take down the copy monster, and they're done. We're now at the very end of the episode, and we see that Nate is practicing basketball, but kind of throwing paper into the bin, etc., etc. Steel and Nate have a heart-to-heart saying, hey, you know, this went on, like, really sorry, you know, we can both play, you know, we want to be there for each other. So they then decide to go out and play basketball, and I've got to admit, I have the funniest scene in this one is where the Rangers are playing basketball, Nate and Steel kind of, like, playing, and then Steel just picks Nate up and just throws him into the basket. I just started laughing because I was like, oh, I didn't expect to see that one. So it was just very funny. And then that is pretty much it for the end of the episode. So I've got to admit, I really enjoyed this because it felt like one of those episodes where you're like, oh, and then it kind of warms into it. I can see that there is still a lot maybe they could play around with it. I think that they could have done more with the Copytron monster to kind of like build up to it. But generally, it's a really good episode. I'm looking forward to more of these. I just want them all to come out in one go. One thing I also did notice is when they do a close-up of Ravi and Zoe, they're talking on the communicators, they've changed the visors. It's a matte visor, so you don't see the reflection of the crew, and I thought, little things like that. And obviously we saw the kind of the stunt version of Steel's suit, which I thought was kind of cool. I highly recommend this episode. So yeah, when it comes out in America, definitely check it out. But I've got to admit, I'm loving the season. It feels so natural and it feels so flowy, which I really like. And I can't wait for the next week's episode. So Ranger Nation, I am going to leave it there. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like the season so far? Are you hating it? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you've liked this video, why not hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as hit that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. And as always, Ranger Nation, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.